Welcome back, everybody, to Friar Talk. Today, we're going live. Didn't do our Sunday night stream last night. Isaac was out there playing softball. I went on a date with my girlfriend, so we were a little bit too busy. But figured we'd do something before today's game. Obviously, we'll be talking about this past series against the Brewers, just the overall week of baseball there, and then also just kind of that this national series is important. We're recording this on Monday, 5 o'clock, if you're watching back on this one. Or a little past 5 o'clock, I guess. But this national series is very interesting. We just got a bunch of news injury-wise for this Padres team, a very, very banged-up Padres team. And right now, you were expecting Yu Darvish to come in and pitch on Tuesday. Not the case. You're expecting Fernando to hopefully be back in the lineup in a couple days. He's down on the IL. Luis Campusano went to the IL. Jose Alzarcar was sent down. And there's just a bunch of Padres news in regards to injuries. We know that both Jurickson Profar and Manny Machado are playing injured right now. Jackson Merrill is going nuclear. Manny's actually been pretty hot lately too. Luis Arraez, he's been heating up a little bit. But the Padres pitching has kind of been their issue the last couple weeks now. The lineup still producing pretty good, even with all these injuries. So it was interesting. You know, a week ago from yesterday, so 8 days ago, we had talked about that being a very big day where the Padres needed to be 5 games over 500. Isaac, you went live last week alone. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. And we talked about, like, this is, an easy stretch. And what we've seen from this team is just ups and downs, super inconsistent. Now, they lost 5 games in a row. Then they won, 4 straight, right? They lost on Sunday, but they take 3 of 4 against the Brewers. They almost took 2 of 3 against the Phillies, besides an ugly loss where Robert Suarez finally blew a save this year. But that was just like brutal to watch, and it just was like, oh no, you could feel like this one's not looking too hot. But then the start of the weekend, they get a little win streak, and it's funny because we were talking in our group chat, and we're like, dude, I know how this one goes. They're gonna go on a little streak, and then they're gonna lose on Sunday, and then maybe they're gonna have another skid, and then they're gonna heat up again. So it's not like it's been anything different. And we can get frustrated with it. We can be happy that they've been able to hang in with all these injuries, but we've just seen exactly they've done the same thing all year long. Right now, they're 41-41. They have been at 500 for 25 games this season. Insane stat. 25 games. You're sitting in the last now. 20. I thought it was 24. Now it's 25. Either way, a lot of them. But yeah, so they're sitting in the wild card spot right now. Now the wild card race is super close. But this team is super banged up right now, and they're basically limping into the All-Star break. And then after the All-Star break, you're hoping you're going to get Tatis back. I don't know how long Campusano will be down, but you're also hoping you get, Darvish back as well. Maybe you swing a couple trades here soon, because I would expect that they're going to do that. But Isaac, what are you feeling right now? Because I think you can look at it a couple different ways. And I feel like because of the recent injuries, it's like, okay, this kind of changes how we feel about it. I do think that we need to talk about the depth of this roster, and we can do that later on when we're recording. But there's just a lot of stuff to unpack, and I also want to see what everyone else in the chat and stuff is thinking, just like where they're at right now, because it's very interesting. Like, you are in a playoff spot, but you feel like it's still lacking, And so I don't know. What are you thinking right now?
Sorry, I'm trying to find when the All-Star break is. It's on the 14th, after the 14th. I don't know, man. I mean, that's a long time. That's a lot of games that you're gonna have to potentially go without Fernando. Yu Darvish, that one was a surprise. Joe Musgrove. There's a lot of guys that are banged up. Even Arraez is playing banged up. Manny's playing banged up. Profar. All these guys, man. It's not looking too good injury wise for the Padres, and it's odd because they can still somehow stay afloat. And at this point, you're kind of just hoping they stay afloat. You're just hoping that, hey, by the time they get back, you're hoping they're still around 500, somewhere around there. But I'll tell you what, the easiest thing to predict this year is the Padres getting back to 500. They were 2-3 games below 500 going into this Brewer series, 2 games, and one of us said, "There's no doubt they're going to win 3 games, and they're going to lose one of them, and they're going to get back to 500." Nonetheless, they did. And I've said this multiple times. It is the most confusing team in baseball because at one point they were one of the worst home teams in baseball and the best road team. Now, over the last little stretch that they've been on, they're the worst road team in baseball because they haven't won on the road in a little while, other than that Phillies game. And they look like a damn good home team. I don't know what's going on. It's really weird. But I don't know, man. I mean, they sent down Jose Azocar. They sent down Johnny Brito. I don't really know what to think right now. Sorry. I don't really know what to think right now. I mean, it doesn't look like a good roster without some of these guys in the lineup. And of course, your pitching depth has already been tested all season. Really, you're just consistently relying on, and I mean, keep in mind, Dylan Cease hasn't really been that good lately. You're really just relying on them getting back around to Dylan Cease, Michael King, and Matt Waldron right now. Because Randy Vasquez, he had a good outing last outing. It was really good. He went five shutout innings, but his ERA is still, I believe, above a 5. And then you got Adam Mazer. I don't know. He's young. I don't want to ridicule him because he's young and he doesn't have a lot of experience. And I'm sorry, but genuinely, I have nothing good to say about Adam Mazer. So, yeah, man. I mean, the depth is definitely being tested really bad right now.
Yeah, dude. And with him, it's kind of like one of those things. Like he's clearly not ready. Like he doesn't look ready at all. But dude, this is what we're talking about again. This is what we're talking about again, man. The depth. And look, I'll give like, because I see this comment here. Hope Peller isn't fired with how his team is performing, and then he keeps going on about it. Right here, I'll pull it up. But this is the thing, dude. Like, the depth is being tested like a lot this year. But the problem is, you look at where this roster was in 2022, and you look at where they're at now, and the reason they're like their roster doesn't look as good, like you're saying, Isaac, where it's like, okay, you have a couple injuries, and then it's like, oh god, all this stuff. It's like, okay, well, you went from having like depleting your farm system, and then not bringing it back up, and then having a way worse roster with guys that are older, with guys that aren't as good, and now are like hurt, and you're seeing them get banged up. Like the last couple years, man, you have seen Merrill come up, which is awesome, and we'll definitely talk about Merrill. But you're seeing Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish. They got big extensions. They've both been injured, and that was the question with their deals. I don't think I was ever like going to be concerned like, oh, are they going to like not be good performance wise? But when you're going to put a bunch of money into starting pitching that's older, that's the risk you're putting in. You have the whole Soto trade where you get these guys back. Brito just gets sent down, and I think he's getting more sent down to get stretched out to be a starter because they need him to be a starter. But Randy Vasquez, his last start wasn't that bad. Like he was all right. He's pretty good, but he was great as the worst starting pitcher in expected ERA in the whole league going into that start. You traded Juan Soto for him and Michael King. Michael King's been really good at times, and then he's also been really bad at times. He's super inconsistent. You only have him for 2 years. Then you took one of those prospects, Drew Thorpe. You traded him. You get Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease has not been that great, and Thorpe looks pretty good, and you moved off of him, right? And so you're looking at it, you're like, well, the roster is kind of messed up and not as deep because of these moves. And if you look at like what's happened, it's like, okay, we're having the same conversation. Now, like I said, you got to give some stuff. It's like the amount of injuries that they've had to deal with is insane. It really is insane this year. But another one, and Isaac, we haven't really talked. I don't think you talked about this last week. Pedro Avila is now on the Guardians. He got DFA'd by the Padres. We were like, okay, why is he getting DFA'd? I remember being like, this makes no sense, dude. He was pretty good last year. He has been a reliever for them, so he hasn't been starting. But he was a starter last year for the Padres, and he's putting up good numbers. It would be so clutch if you had him instead of Mazer or instead of Randy Vasquez coming in as a spot starter. And it just doesn't make – why would you DFA him? Like, because now that's what you're missing. And now you're putting up a guy that's too young and isn't ready. And now your biggest need is going to be starting pitching. And that has been one of the Padres' issues every single year now.
Yeah,
every single year under AJ Preller. It's not like it's the same thing because a lot of the injuries, like, yes, you have the 2 starting pitcher injuries, 100%, but a lot of the injuries this year that you're saying, like the majority of them is with the lineup, and the lineup's still been good. Like it's the same thing as like, okay, well, what's gonna right now? We look at it right now. What's gonna be the issue for the Padres if they don't make the playoffs this year? It's gonna be because their starting pitching didn't hold up. That's what it's going to be. And it's like, dude, we've had this conversation now. What is it, 11 seasons in a row? Like I know some of the years they weren't competitive, but they also didn't have full starting staffs. Like you can't put together a starting staff 1 year, and then the 1 year that you did, you make the playoffs, you end up losing in the playoffs because you had two guys that were horrible at the back of your rotation. One guy that you traded a bunch of good players for, and Mike Clevenger. So it's like, dude, we've been having the same conversation, and that's the thing that's annoying with it. But like I said, I will give this team credit for they've been banged up. Arise is starting to come back around. At least Isaac, I don't know. I feel like he is. I think he's starting to get. He looked a little bad for a while just after that shoulder injury. Jerkson Profar, godly season so far. Number one guy in the All-Star voting for the outfield, which is awesome to see. It's been super cool to see Profar balling out. Jackson Merrill, he's been awesome lately. And I think that even like the numbers, like his numbers are like pretty good. He has like a 770 OPS, but it feels like he's played a lot better, and it feels like he has a lot of room to grow, especially like numbers wise and stuff. And he's only a rookie, and he was 20 when this season started. He's 21 now, but he's only 20 years old when this season started. So massive props there. I do think I saw this question up here. I would like to do this one with you because we're kind of getting into it. Can you speak on your surprises and disappointments of the team? I'll give you 2 surprises, 2 disappointments. 2 surprises. One is Jackson Merrill. Not just that he's looked so much better at the plate, and like the power starting to show. And I think it's mostly recently where like the power's really started to take off, and the expected numbers and a lot of like, like his baseball savant page and stuff was saying that. The other surprise, and I think he's definitely I guess I'll give you 3 surprises. One is also Jerkson Profar. I mean, we know Jerkson Profar enough. We don't need to talk about him, but Jerkson Profar for sure. And the other guy, I think this is the biggest surprise, though Profar definitely has a fair point, is Matt Waldron. He's used the knuckleball more, and he has been legit this year. I'm pretty sure he has better numbers than both Dylan Cease and Michael King currently. So mad props to him, because we did not want him to be the 5th starter. And it wasn't like we were like, oh yeah, you can roster this guy. He can be a long reliever, but don't really like him as a starter. If he is going to be a starter, throw the knuckleball more. He's done that, and it's become so much more effective. His pitch mix is really good, even though he doesn't have, a great fastball or anything like that. But it's been awesome to see. His location's definitely been better than it was last year. So yeah, it's been really surprising from him. Disappointments. The 2 I'll do Manny. Because obviously Manny. But the other guy I'm gonna say Luis Campusano, dude. Because like I was really hoping he was gonna keep it going this year. And I know he's hurt right now, but like not that great. And I guess if I was gonna do someone else, it would be Dylan Cease up to this point. Not that he's been bad or anything, but it's like I was hoping we were getting an ace, and he does not look like an ace. So those would be the 3 I would say for both surprises and disappointments. But who are you rocking with, dude?
Surprises. Obviously, you got to say Jerkson Profar. Nobody expected him to be, at this point, the number 1 All-Star vote getter for the outfield. So obviously, the number 1 choice for surprise is going to be Jerkson Profar. Another one, obviously, got to be Jackson Merrill. A lot of home runs in his last 10 games. I think it's like 8 home runs, 7 home runs in the last 10 games, something like that. I didn't expect that. The power surge all of a sudden is super crazy to me, but it's been awesome to see. We've been needing someone to help out in the power department, and it looks like Merrill stepped up. So not only, I feel like not a lot of people talk about his glove. He's an elite outfielder. I think the stats show that he is absolutely an elite outfielder. So that's also a good surprise. He's a great base runner. He kind of, as he grows into his body, as he gets older, he looks like a guy that could be a 5-tool player. If not, then close to one. It's another surprise. Maybe not so much of a surprise, but maybe a little bit. Jake Cronenworth. Jake Cronenworth had a really massive down season last year. Everyone was talking about how he didn't deserve an extension. He should have, and hey, I agree. I mean, he was going to get paid the same amount of money. Maybe extending him wasn't the greatest idea, but now you're looking at him and you're saying, hey, thank God this guy's our first, or shit, even our second baseman, because our original second baseman got hurt. We'll slide him over to second, and we had to put Arias at first. And you're looking at Jake Cronenworth and you're saying, well, hey, the positional value that he provides where he can play first, second, or shortstop, and he's putting up good numbers at the plate. I am kind of shocked that there would be any discussion. I would be shocked to have any discussion about how that's not a valuable player worth extending. Um, so I thought it was a good. I mean, of course, now it looks like a good move. That's hindsight, but you're looking at a guy that can play 3 different positions, 4 if you include pitcher. Um, you're looking at a guy that can play 3 different positions and who's hitting really well at the plate right now. So, been a very pleasant surprise. Disappointments, you have to go with Manny. Manny's been heating up lately. He has over an 800 OPS in his last 30 games, but the power hasn't been there. While he has over an 800 OPS in his last 30 games, only 2 home runs in that same time frame. So, that's something that I've been pretty disappointed with as far as Manny Machado goes. Is yes, you can hit the doubles, you can hit the singles, but at the end of the day, you've been batting cleanup, or I mean, lately you've been batting 5, and as a guy that's going to consistently be batting there and behind guys like Arias who constantly gets on base, Fernando can hit him in, but Fernando's in a position where we don't even have Fernando now. Jake Cronenworth is constantly being getting on base, and now you're looking at a guy to bring them all in, and Manning has been the guy to clean up the bases. And you need him to be. So that's the only disappointment with Manny. Other than that, he's been fine. I mean, he's hitting for a decent average. Lately, again, he's been really good, over an 800 OPS. But the full season stats tell you the story, and that is that he hasn't been very good. Luis Campusano. I that was the first person that come to mind, and I know everyone probably thought Manny first, but the first person that come to my head was Luis Campusano, because I don't know what happened from last year to this year. Something changed, and whether it's his stance, where his hands are, how much he's choking up on the bat, I don't know what's affecting him, but it's bad. It's affected him really bad up to this point. He doesn't look like a good hitter right now. I believe he's under a 700 OPS, and I said before, you kind of just have him as a more powerful Austin Nola, which is really odd to say. I mean, he doesn't really throw guys out. He's not great defensively. He doesn't call the games. He doesn't have over 700 OPS. Really, what do you get? You're not getting much from Luis Campusano, other than the fact that he's a lot more hyped. And he was a top prospect at one point, but yeah, he doesn't look good up to this point. Definitely a massive disappointment, considering how well he played towards the back end of last season after he came back from the IL. You got to throw Xander Bogaerts in there. I really thought that at the beginning of the season, Xander Bogaerts would be having a resurgence up to this point. Instead, we're looking at a guy that we're deeply regretting getting on our team, having that contract. That's it really for the disappointments. I mean, overall, it's been a pretty good team, man. I mean, yes, they've had stretches where they lose 3 different times they've lost 5 in a row. But I mean, the eye test tells me they're a good team. They look like a good team when I watch them. But their record shows you they're mediocre. You are what your record is.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to see, and I feel like that's kind of been the whole thing. And dude, that's where like this series coming up right now. The Brewers series is a good example, dude. Last weekend you get swept against the Mets. It's like, dude, the Mets are not good. That was bad series. And this weekend you play a Brewers team that is like clearly in first place in their division. They've been good all year, and you take 3 of 4. And then you only really lose the Sunday game because they just had that crazy, was it second or third? I think it was second inning, where it's just like bloop, bloop, bloop. Like Michael King almost got out of the inning. He got a bloop hit like off the end of the bat that was like barely fair. That it also would have been a 1-run inning if that gets caught. And it was just like in a bad spot. Which I'm not saying like, oh yeah, like it just kind of, you got unlucky. And the Padres have had a lot of innings like that. But that was just like a rough inning. And like outside of that, they almost had they're close to having a 4-game sweep. But still, you take 3 or 4. Now you're coming up, you're playing the Nationals, you're going up against Mackenzie Gore, CJ Abrams. Not James Wood yet, but James Wood will probably be up soon. But you're going up against a team that you traded. This is the team that you traded for Juan Soto, and then you didn't get much back for him. But I think that the Mackenzie Gore start's going to be very interesting because that's like a prime example of like the Padres not having pitching depth, and it's like, oh, this dude is balling out that used to be in your organization. Tonight's game, Patrick Corbin going up against Matt Waldron. We just talked about Matt Waldron. Patrick Corbin is terrible. Isaiah, have you looked into this dude's stats? Like, you want to talk about a bad contract? He is the prime example of that. Like, everyone can freak out about it. What were you going to say?
I just remember last year where it was the same story, but he still pitched a damn good outing against us. So I'm not going to get my hopes up.
Dude, so that's the other thing. In this series, I don't know if you saw this, the Padres have really struggled with this year. I think they've had
lefties.
There's been times where it's been, the bullpen's doing really good and it's doing really bad. The starter's doing really good, then they kind of struggle a little bit. Same thing with the lineup, but they've all had like really good moments and really good stretches. One thing they have really struggled to do all year long is hit against lefties. And for some reason, lefties that are just not good. And this is going to be an interesting series because you're going up against 3 straight lefties. The Nationals are what, half a game behind you right now? They're half a game behind you for that wild card spot. It's a big series, dude. You don't have a lot of guys. And you're just kind of trying to hang in and be 500 at the All-Star break, get some guys back, get some momentum. Obviously, like you want to win more than 500. You want to be a better team than that. But like if you're being kind of realistic for where they're at and what we've seen from them, that you don't want them to fall apart. But I think this is a very interesting question here. And I think we can kind of play around with this question. Eduardo asked right here, if we're 5 to 7 games behind the wild card before the trade deadline, should we buy or sell? Now, a lot of times you're like 5 games back. It's not like that crazy, right? If you're 5 games back with where the NL is currently at, you fell off bad, like really, really bad. We're talking about a little over a month away. So this would be like disaster mode. You're probably selling because that probably means there's like 7 or 8 teams, like, okay, let's say 5 to 8 teams ahead of you. That would be a disaster. I'll ask you the same question. What if you're 3 games back? Because that's a little bit more, I think, in reason and stuff. If you're 3 games back, Isaac, what do you do? I mean, I know what they're going to do.
They're gonna do it. I hope whoever hates trading prospects or whatever it is, hates when the depth goes, I hope you're ready to get your heart broken again. It's happening. 100% it is happening. If they are 3 games back or under, the Padres are about to be, I firmly believe they're about to be one of the most aggressive buyers at the deadline. Doesn't mean they're going to get everyone that they want, but you look at the starting pitching market, it's like, obviously Garrett Crochet is the guy, or Crochet, however you say it. He's the guy that's getting the most attention. Who's Jesus Luzardo? There's Jack Flaherty. There's Eric Fed, Max Scherzer. There's a bunch of guys, man. There's a bunch of guys that are out there that are going to be on the market. Max Scherzer just made his first appearance through 5 shutout innings, only allowed 1 hit. 1 year left on his contract. The Rangers aren't really in it very much. I mean, you're looking at the Rangers as potential sellers. You're looking at other teams. The Tigers for sure will probably give out Flaherty, Fed, like all these guys that I mentioned. The Padres are going after for sure, and it's not a matter of like, oh, I think they're going to buy. No, they're buying. 100%, they are buying. They're going to be the most aggressive when it comes to Crochet and Luzardo, and if they don't get one of them, they're going after one of the other guys that I mentioned. And then you look at the bullpen and you say, well, shit, I hate seeing Yuki Matsui warm up. I hate seeing Eniel De Los Santos warm up. Whoever you hate seeing warm up, you could probably count on the Padres going after a reliever too. Tanner Scott's a guy we've talked about before. If the Nationals are selling at the deadline, Hunter Harvey's another guy that I would like. And I know, Devin, you said Luis Robert, Ladd Jr., and Bichette. We're not getting bats. Bats are entertaining. They're super fun to get. But if you look at this lineup from top to bottom, this is a lineup that can compete already. I firmly believe that. Arias, Tatis, Bogarts, Machado, Kim, Merrill, all these guys, man, this is a damn good lineup. if anything, your weakest spot is catcher, and you have a guy that can definitely turn it on at any moment with Luis Camposano. Something just has to be fixed with that guy. I don't know what it is. So you're looking at a team that's going to be focusing on the pitching market. And the good thing is, I think the pitching market has quite a few good names, whether they're top tier names like Crochet or Luzardo. Maybe not all of those, but you're looking at a starting rotation, a starting pitching market that has guys like Tyler Anderson with a 2.5 with under a 3 ERA right now. There's a guy from not the Pirates, from the National. I mean, there's tons of guys that could be talked about that the Padres can go after if they swing and miss on one of the top guys. But I hope you're ready for the farm to get emptied again, or the bench, or the depth, whatever it is, because it's happening.
I'm cutting out all crazy, so if I leave, you'll know why. But yeah, I agree, dude. It's I don't think it's really even like a question of like, are they gonna get, are they gonna sell? Are they gonna buy? They're gonna buy. They're definitely gonna buy. And especially where the NL is right now, and this is why it is frustrating. Like they didn't get ahead, especially now you start having these injuries, dude. The NL is it's not good. It's really bad. Like you look at the AL like playoff race. Right now, the third wild card team is the Red Sox, who Padres are going to see in a few days here. The Red Sox are 42-36. The Padres are the third wild card team. They're 41-41. Like, it's a lot different, dude. The Royals are not in the playoffs, and they're 2.5 games better than the Padres are. Like, the Astros would be would be a game back, and they're 4 games back there. Like, and also the top heavy teams in the AL are like really ridiculous because the AL East is just insane. But then you look in the National League, dude. Right now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams within 4 games fighting for 2 wild card spots within 4 games. That is wild. That is ridiculous. So yeah, it's going to depend. Like if you go into runs and stuff, like we've talked about in the past, the schedule also does lighten up a little bit towards the end of the season, which, I mean, if you want to be real, like getting hot towards the end of the season is the best thing. Like you got to get in the playoffs. You got to get hot. You look at what the Padres did in 22. It wasn't necessarily that they were hot at the end of the season, but they were hot in the playoffs. Their guys were hitting. A certain man by the name of Trent Grisham decided to go absolutely nuclear. And also, dude, it was just like random guys in that series. I feel like Austin Nola was pretty good in that series.
He was
too,
damn good.
Like it was the bottom of the lineup. I think you're right though when you talk about like kind of the wish list for the Padres. Like I don't think it's anything to do with the bats. You're expecting Manny to kind of start improving, which he has been. Like I mean, that's what you're banking on. You're not expecting. You're banking on that to happen. It just has to happen. You want Tatis to be healthy. Obviously, you want just keep doing what you're doing, Jurickson Profar. Don't change anything. And then also like you look at the other stuff is, yeah, offensively it's like kind of it is Campusano, but it's pitching, dude. It's you want a lefty arm starter, ideally. Probably the same thing for the bullpen. If you get a bullpen arm and a starter, that will help a lot, dude. That will help a ton. And then if you get a starter and Joe Musgrove ends up coming back, all of a sudden and Darvish does too, like you have an extra arm, you actually have some depth now. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. I hope that they don't, I mean, maybe you just get a rental because they don't cost that much, but maybe you get a guy, you have him for next year too, and like you're like, okay, we're going to make a playoff run with this team. If they're able to do that and then you kind of run it back with the same squad, I think that'd be really cool. Obviously that's ideal, but like we'll see like really who becomes available because like a lot of these teams are kind of on the fence right now, and you have a long time. You got 5 weeks basically to see like who's going to be a seller, who's going to be a buyer. But I don't think there's any question that the Padres are going to be that they're not going to be a buyer. Also, it already came out and reported that AJ Preller's been trying to trade for a starter like a madman. Like he just keeps trying to go and trade for guys. He's probably talked to the Marlins, probably giving the Marlins 100 calls. Like, dude, what about Luzardo, bro? What about Luzardo? And who knows? There's another lefty on the Marlins. You know him, Isaac? Maybe they go trade for him. You ever heard this guy, Ryan Weathers?
Oh. That's funny.
I heard he's a big fan of the Padres organization, actually, his parents and everything.
Shit. Yeah, right. I mean, you look at other guys that are available. It's like Cal Quantrill is probably going to be available.
Really? I guess he's on the roster.
Yeah. Yeah, he's on the Rockies. He's actually pitching pretty well, at least lately. Um, Shit, I don't know who else, but yeah, Kyle Quantrill. I mean, the biggest thing with the Padres is that like it's obviously the arms. You look at the lineup and it's like, dude, this is a pretty damn good lineup. Like, go all around. Campusano, sure, yeah, he kind of sucks right now, but other than that, it's like Jake Cronenworth is doing good. Luis Arias is good. Xander can be good. Manny's probably going to end up being pretty good. Ha-Seong Kim is doing good lately. Fernando jerks it so far. Dude, that's a good lineup, bro. Like that lineup can compete with anyone. That like we have one real weak spot in our lineup, and it's Campusano. Like, don't get me wrong, Kim's not a great hitter. Xander's probably not that great of a hitter. Manny hasn't been a great hitter, but they're good hitters. They're decent to good hitters. Same thing with Jake. Jake's a good hitter. But like you look at the Dodgers probably have more. And maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Dodgers are trotting out guys at the bottom of the lineup that are just good. I do like our lineup. Maybe not power wise, but our lineup can compare to theirs. I think our lineup can compare to some of the best lineups in baseball. I think we have a good lineup. But then you look at the arms and it's like, man, you're praying to God that Adam Mazur can go 5 innings and allow 3 earned runs. 5 innings and 3 earned runs. That's like over a 4 ERA. And you're praying to God that he does that. Randy Vasquez, expected ERA, that dude is butt, bro. That dude is garbage. You just traded Ted Williams for him. And you know what's odd is that he looked pretty good in New York. His Savant looked pretty damn good in New York. What the heck happened? I don't know what happened. And truly, I don't know. I mean, I forgot which pitch it is, but one of his pitches is god awful. I think it's the changeup. It is horrendous. And then Brito, they're trying to extend Brito, turn him into a starter. We've been saying that shit happened. Not that Brito's amazing. I still don't expect anything great from Brito, but he's probably going to be better than. I would hope he's better than Vasquez. Thank you. That is like when we said we need to trade Ryan Weathers because this is not going to last very long. That is this. Nonetheless, it didn't last very long. So, yeah, the main problem for the Padres now is going to be rotation. And it seems like there's always that one team that you don't expect to be a seller that ends up being a seller. I don't know who that will be, but the Padres need starting pitching now with Darvish on IL. Musgrove's barely starting to throw. It's not good. It's not looking good. I'm scared.
I was thinking about this, and I know we talk about the Soto trade too much, but dude, you seen how good Luis Gill has been too? And he was in like,
oh my god, he's nasty.
Like, look, like Michael King, and I think Michael King's been good, but like the problem is you only have Michael King for 2 years.
He's good.
He kind of gets into these bad like
funks. I mean, hey, for a fourth pitcher, you're not really disappointed in a guy that gets into some funks.
Oh my god, dude.
Oh god.
Look at that. That's insane. And he's also pitching at Yankee Stadium, bro.
Yep.
And he's younger than these guys. Besides Vasquez. It's like that's the part that's frustrating with it. But
I'm never gonna understand. I mean, I understand the trade in the aspect of you needed arms, but why did it have to be these arms? These guys kind of suck.
Yeah,
except for Michael King.
Well, and Isaac, you didn't even bring it up, but dude, why did they DFA Pedro Avila? Like would he not have been a clearly better option than Vasquez and Mazur?
Easily, right? Definitely. Oh, I think anything's better than Mazur, bro. I'm sorry. I hate to be that guy,
but it's also like he has barely pitched, dude. He got drafted 2 years ago. You know, it's like
he's young, exactly. So I don't want to be that guy because he's super young and he's clearly not ready. But the only reason I'm critical is because, I mean, it's probably AJ's fault that I'm critical of someone that's so young and isn't ready. But at the same time, The Padres need to win, man. It's now or never. And we're talking about them potentially being sellers. Guys, they cannot be sellers at any point. Manny is over 30. Xander's over 30. Darvish is over 30. Musgrove's over 30. Fernando doesn't get any younger. Jerks and Profor is having an amazing season. Jake is over 30. The window is now. Like, no, even if you're 5 games back, the window that statement still pertains. The window is right now. You can't afford to sell. You can't. This is why I think we all agree the Padres are going to be so aggressive in buying, is because you look at these contracts and who's on their team. This is not a young team by any means. The youngest guy is Jackson Merrill. He's 21. Other than that, Fernando's like 24, 25. Campusano's young. But the rest of their infield, it's not that young. Ha-Seong Kim is probably gone after this year. Then what do you got? Ha-Seong Kim, I think, is the youngest infielder. He's like 27, 28. So
Dude, I think he's 29, dude. He's a little.
I don't know how old
he
he is.
I mean, yeah, he's 28. He'll turn 29 in October.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't have a young team. That's what I mean. You're not going to look at a team that's gonna sell.
That's the thing, dude. That's the thing that's frustrating. Is like, and that's when we talk about like where they're at and stuff. It's like, well, dude, they had like a young core. Like they had it like sitting there, a couple years ago. Like you go back to what was it 2020 in the COVID year? They were super electric, and I was like, dude, this is an up and coming team.
Oh yeah.
Well, we're a few years from that, dude. It's been some time since then. So that's the part that's a little scary, and that's why it's like you're hoping that you get in and you make a run in the playoffs. Like that's what they're really banking on. And it's also frustrating too, because like with some of the stuff, like Bogarts it didn't really make sense. Like it was kind of like, okay, well, if this guy can keep hitting, like he's a good hitter, like he's a good contact hitter. It just hasn't been good. But the one guy that you always felt like, okay, like this will be all right is, okay, well, Manny should age well, right? Manny doesn't he doesn't get hurt. He's an Iron Man. You can have him, just get a little, when he gets a little bit older, bulks up a little bit, he'll still hit you 25, 30 bombs a year. And maybe won't hit for as much contact, but he'll still hit for power. And you can always move him from third to first base because he is a ridiculously good fielder and he can still be a first baseman for you. And now 2 years after the extension, it's like, dude, this has not been a good stretch. And fair enough, he's been hurt, but also he's been hurt. So that's the part where you're like, well, shoot, that's not ideal. That's not ideal at all. I think there is some positives to it. Is like, obviously the value of some of these contracts isn't going to be as insane. Like Bogarts, when Bogarts is older, like it's not going to be that bad to have a $25 million contract. Like we've talked about this in the past. Dude, Sean Manaea and Nick Martinez are making like almost $15 million.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, if you can home grow your pitchers and do stuff like that, yeah, but you look at the Padres farm system, it's really not that great anymore. Like they do have a group of guys that are coming up in a couple years pitching wise, but they, dude, also, I don't think we have really talked about this. Their farm system this year is playing horrible. Like go look at all the guys' stats. It is bad. Everyone's been bad. I think like there's like one guy, who is it that was playing good? I forget. There's one guy that's playing good, and like everyone else of the top prospects is like, dude, these guys don't have good numbers. They're all struggling. They're all playing really. Oh, it was Victor Lizarraga. He's been playing pretty good. Like that's the only guy. And like you look at everyone else, it's like, oh god, he's been bad. Dylan Lesko, he hasn't been good.
Ethan Salas
hasn't been good. DeVries is super young, but he's not putting up numbers. And like I get people are like, oh, they're young and they're playing high up. It's like, yeah, but you guys know what happens when you have superstar players in the farm system. They're ridiculous. Like,
oh yeah,
they're always good. That's kind of the whole thing. So it's a little bit concerning, I will say. Also, we're not into all the way through the year or anything, but we'll see. But yeah, dude, I mean, it is a thing where it's like there's a lot of pressure on them to win, and these next couple weeks are going to be big time. This series right now against the Nationals is very interesting. If they lose if they don't get a playoff seed and the Nationals get a playoff seed, it's going to be insane. It's going to be documentary time for the Padres of what they could have been if the Nationals make the playoffs over them. And checking out this Nationals team, I mean, I know that CJ Abrams started out super hot and then had like a massive fall off, but
He's been
He
good
still has
lately.
over 800 OPS.
Yeah, he's been good lately.
Their lineup's not that good though.
Nope.
Like that, they shouldn't be this good. You look at their lineup. You look at the Padres lineup. Go look at the numbers, dude. It's like vastly different, and they're a half game back.
They're gonna fall off. They're bound to fall off.
Yeah. Oh, Mills asked this. This is a good question. Merrill's numbers weren't that great last year, were they? They
No,
weren't that
I
good,
was gonna say
but he got better. It was really
he
bad
got
like
better over
around
the
the
last
time.
season. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, like at the end of the season, he finished out pretty hot. So that's what you're
Mhm.
hoping with a lot of these guys. And
Yep.
some of them are playing like a little bit up too. Like Salas is playing. I feel like Salas is playing a little bit up. Like DeVries is super young. Snelling's probably playing a little bit up too. But yeah, I don't know. What else are we thinking?
I got nothing, man.
Talked about
I
Cronenworth.
talked
Vote
about
profile for the
everyone,
All-Star
really.
game
Yep.
for his kid.
Yep. Talked about everyone, really. I mean, there's nothing. Talked about the trade deadline. Talked about who they could acquire. Talked about why we believe they're probably not going to sell at all. I mean, this is a team that, again, their window's now. If they don't win now, it feels like now or never, just because how old some of these guys are. But yeah, none of these guys are getting any younger, man. I mean, the pressure's on, and I get that, but realistically, this with the names that you have, even going back to last year, these should be 90 win teams if we're going based off names alone.
Yeah.
Easily, these should be 90 win teams. I should not be questioning if they're going to make the playoffs right now. That is the most frustrating part of this, is that I am questioning if they're going to make the playoffs when I'm looking at the teams that are around them.
They're not
Those
good.
teams, they're not good. Those are the teams that should be questioning if they're going to be in the playoffs. My team with Fernando, Manny, Arias, Cronenworth, all these star-studded names, a star-studded team, a team that has fans selling out the park every single day. I should not be questioning if my team's going to make the playoffs. And here we are questioning if they're even going to beat the damn Nationals. So it's I'm not going to say it's a frustrating season. I've been enjoying this season. Again, they, based off the eye test, outside of some stretches, they look like a really good team. But you are what your record is, and right now you're a 500 team. You're a mediocre baseball team, and that's all I have to say, man. That's all I have to say on the Padres is normally if it's not one thing that's going, if one thing's going their way, such as the lineup, or if two things are going their way, such as the lineup and the starters, it's the bullpen that's fucking up. If it's the starters and the bullpen that's doing good, it's the offense that's not performing. If the bullpen and the offense are doing good, it's the starters that aren't performing. They're almost never in sync. But when they were in sync, they were so good. For like a 3-week stretch, they were so good. And now we're back to the inconsistency.
Yeah, noted. It's true. All right, I got one final question for you.
Yeah.
NL Rookie of the Year race.
Paul Skeens.
Yeah. Okay, that was the question. Yeah, it's gonna be Skeens, huh?
Yep, that dude, he's unhittable. I don't think there's more than 10 pitchers I would take over Paul Skeens right now.
I don't think, dude. I mean, how old is he right now?
He's like younger than us. He's like 21, 22.
Yeah, he's 22.
He
throws 99.
There's very few. He reached 102. There's very few pitchers I would take over Paul Skeens right now, and I understand. Hey, Merrill's our guy. He should be in the All-Star game. He's playing fantastic, but this Paul Skeens guy, man, he just got drafted too, and he looks
insane,
unhittable. He looks insane. This is not a guy that I want the Padres to face ever. Of course, it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but is one of the best pitchers in baseball already.
Hey, you agree with this? I guess this wouldn't really happen. I was gonna say if you're the Padres and like you can pick your wild card spot or whatever, right? You definitely round one want to play the Brewers over anyone else, right? Like, is that? I know like that was the last series, but like I feel like they played good against the Brewers earlier. I'd rather play them than the Braves. And I'll be honest, if the Braves fell off or something and felt like, let's say they fell like the third wild card team where you're like sitting at the first and you have to face like the Pirates in the second, it's like, dude, well shoot, now we have to face Paul Skeens, or you have to face like, I don't know, I just wouldn't want to.
the
The
pro
Brewers,
there,
though.
there's a problem with both things. If you get the 5 seed, you face the Braves. If you get the 6 seed and you face the Brewers, and then you beat the Brewers, you face the Phillies. And you never beat the Phillies. Whereas you could beat the Dodgers. So if we're talking like what I want to get out of the way first, I'd want to get the Braves out of the way. But Braves Dodgers
Because
is
I'll be
so
honest, the Braves are not as good of a team as they've been in the past. Their
no,
pitching's not there. Their
exactly.
lineup has not been good. You don't have
Exactly.
Acuna. Like,
And look at it this way though. If you have to play the Braves, Dodgers, Phillies in that order, you have probably the toughest stretch in play. That was horrible. That
and then
sucks.
the Yankees.
Oh god, dude, that is terrible, bro. That is bad. But yeah, I mean, no matter what, you got to face a good team. So yeah, maybe I'd rather face the Brewers first, but I'd rather face the Dodgers than the Phillies.
Yeah, I feel that too. Well, who are the? So okay, so you face the Braves. Here you go. Here we go. Now we're talking. Ready? Face the Braves. And then who sneaks in? Who can come in there and beat the Brewers and the Phillies? Who would you take right now? Not the Cardinals. Hell no, right?
No, not the Cardinals. Who do I think can sneak in there and beat both?
It's gotta be the Pirates, right? It has
It
to
might
be.
be the Pirates. They have a good rotation, at least top 3,
Or the
top 2
Nationals
minimum.
bring up James Wood and he's insane too.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think their team's
like.
that good.
Yeah, I think the Pirates, man. I mean, I don't really see another team here that's very good. The Rockies aren't, the Marlins aren't making it. The Giants, I'm sorry, the Giants are trash. The Giants are not good.
The Reds aren't very good either.
The Cubs aren't good.
The Cubs could turn it around though.
It's just Imanaga.
He's been struggling lately, dude. His
We've been
ERA has been
struggling lately.
inflated a lot.
Yep. Pirates, Paul Skeens, Jack Jones, I think is his name.
Yeah, I think this is right. Here's right
Pirates.
here. You got to get through the Phillies and the Dodgers most likely. Like the chances that you
Exactly.
don't are so slim.
Yeah,
Like
they're
who are
so
the like also like and you bring it up like the Braves are not gonna beat the Phillies, dude. They cannot beat
they
the Phillies.
can't do it. They never will.
Who wait, the
That's their
Diamondbacks.
daddy, bro. That's their daddy.
Yeah, they can't. They cannot beat them.
They can't beat the Phillies.
We can't beat the Phillies.
We can't beat the fucking Phillies. That is our daddy too.
Bryce Harper, bro, it's just a little too insane when it comes
And Kyle Schwarber.
Dude, Schwarber is
Schwarber is Barry
so
Bonds
underrated.
against us.
He's so underrated.
He's Barry Bonds against us.
Dude, but he also just does that against like a lot. He does it all the time.
He's just good.
Oh, there's 2 guys on base, and I struck out 3 times in this game.
Fucking
Oh, you
dinger.
hung one. Oh, nuke.
Uh-huh.
Like that's kind of how Schwarber goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I ain't got nothing else. I'm good.
No. All right, guys. We'll make some videos. We're gonna talk about this this wild card race. Or not the wild card race. I'm sorry, the trade deadline stuff. Like we're gonna bring up some guys that we like. We'll do some stuff later this week. I'll probably talk about Merrill too. Maybe do some on the All-Star game, but we'll probably put a couple out this week, back in town and everything. So I think we have a couple nights where we're all around. So yeah, sounds good. Had fun talking to y'all. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you later. See you.